Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're really digging into the science behind the world's melting ice, and it is alarming. We're going to explore why it's happening so much faster than anyone predicted, and what that actually means for all of us living on this planet.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a pretty stark warning from the scientists on the front lines. This isn't some far-off problem for our grandkids. The evidence is showing that the future of our coastlines, where hundreds of millions of people live, is at immediate risk.
And to really get a handle on the urgency here, just look at how the predictions have changed. Back in 2001, scientists were projecting maybe a 3-foot rise by the end of the century. Well, today, that prediction is completely out the window. The latest research, based on what's happening on the ground right now, points to a potential rise of 20 feet. That is almost 7 times higher.
So why such a drastic change? I mean, what are scientists seeing now that they just weren't seeing before? Well, the story really starts with a simple, kind of terrifying fact. The melting is speeding up way beyond what anyone expected.
Let's try to put a number on this. In 2005 alone, Greenland and Antarctica lost 77 cubic miles of ice. Now that's a number that's almost impossible to picture, so let's think about it this way. The entire city of Los Angeles uses about 1 cubic mile of water per year. So we lost 77 Los Angeles' worth of water in a single year.
So how on earth did we get to this point? To understand why this is all happening so fast, we really have to follow the scientists right to the front lines, to Greenland and Antarctica. And what they have found are two very different but equally dangerous ways this is all playing out.
So up in Greenland, it's all about lubrication. Warmer air is creating these gigantic pools of meltwater right on the surface of the glaciers. This water then finds cracks and drains all the way down to the bedrock underneath. It's basically like putting a thin film of water under a massive block of ice. It just kills the friction. And these huge glaciers are literally starting to slide into the sea, moving twice as fast as they were just a few years ago.
Down in Antarctica, the threat is totally different, and honestly, it's kind of more explosive. Here, meltwater also gets into cracks, but then it gets trapped. And when that water refreezes, it expands with incredible force. Like when a sealed bottle of water shatters in your freezer? It's that, but on a planetary scale. This ice wedging is acting like a sledgehammer, just blowing these ancient ice shelves apart from the inside. And this quote just captures the pure shock in the scientific community when they saw the impossible happen. The Larsen B ice shelf, it was over 10,000 years old, bigger than the state of Rhode Island. And scientists just watched on their satellites as it literally exploded in 3 weeks. Gone. An ancient, seemingly permanent feature of our planet just vanished in the blink of an eye. When you see something like that, it raises a huge question. Is this normal? Is this just part of some natural cycle we don't understand? To figure that out, to really see where we're headed, scientists had to look back in time, and they did it by drilling deep into the ice itself.
It's a great question, right? How can this frozen, empty wasteland hold the key to our climate, both past and future? Well, it turns out ice is a perfect time machine.
So, think of it like this. Every single year, a new layer of snow falls, and it traps these tiny little bubbles of air from that year. By drilling down, scientists can pull up these ice cores with perfectly preserved samples of Earth's atmosphere going back hundreds of thousands of years. They can measure the exact amount of CO2 that was in the air and even figure out what the global temperature was way back then.
And this chart, well, it shows the undeniable link. The data from those ice cores is crystal clear. For the last 400,000 years, temperature and CO2 have moved in perfect lockstep. When CO2 went up, the temperature went up. When CO2 went down, the planet went into an ice age. And the level of CO2 today, it is literally off the historical charts.
And here's the crucial part. This crazy spike we're seeing right now, it's not a natural cycle. The timing is exact. You can see that CO2 levels were pretty stable for thousands of years. And then, right around 1850, they started to climb and climb and climb. And that lines up perfectly with the Industrial Revolution, when we started burning fossil fuels on a massive scale.
So now that we've made that connection, we can really start to see what this future might look like. But to fully get why the melting could spiral out of control, we need to understand this powerful feedback loop that's happening at the poles.
It's called the albedo effect. And honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like wearing a white shirt versus a black shirt on a really sunny day. The white shirt reflects sunlight and keeps you cool, right? The black shirt absorbs it and you get hot. The same exact thing is true for the planet. White ice reflects about 80% of the sun's energy back into space.
The dark ocean, though, it just soaks it up. And this is where things get really dangerous, because it creates a feedback loop. As the ice melts, it exposes more of that dark ocean water. That dark water absorbs more heat from the sun, which in turn melts more ice, which exposes more dark water. You get it. It's this vicious circle that just speeds up the warming, and scientists are worried we could hit a tipping point where the whole process becomes irreversible.
Okay, so let's make this real. Let's look at what this means for a major city like New York. With just 3 feet of sea level rise, remember that was the old prediction from 2001, coastal areas like Fire Island and parts of the Meadowlands in New Jersey, they start to flood permanently.
All right, now let's jump to 10 feet of sea level rise. The picture becomes, well, it's devastating. Large, heavily populated parts of the New York metro area are just gone. They're permanently underwater.
But here's the knockout blow. It's not just about the gradual rise. A major hurricane approaching New York could create a storm surge of 22 feet right at the Statue of Liberty. That's a wall of water that would flood the entire subway system, shut down the airports, and bring the city to a complete standstill.
Now, that vision of the future is absolutely terrifying, but the story is not over. The science isn't saying this is a done deal. It's saying this is what will happen if we do nothing. And the thing is, we have faced a global atmospheric crisis before, and we solved it.
Just look at the story of lead pollution. We started pumping it into the air during the Industrial Revolution, and it went into overdrive when we put it in gasoline. For decades, it was building up all over the globe. But then, scientists proved it was making us all sick. And what did we do? We actually acted. Nations came together, they phased out leaded gasoline, and look what happened. The amount of lead in our atmosphere just plummeted.
And the proof is right there, in the Greenland ice. That data shows something so important, that when we as a global community decide we want to solve a problem, we are more than capable of cleaning up our own mess.
And that leaves us with the final crucial question from all of this. The science is clear, the potential consequences they're stark. But as we've seen, the future isn't written yet. We have proven that we can make a huge difference when we choose to. The choice, once again, is ours.